Oh, hello. How are you sexy people doing? Zeke Hidden, in case you've forgotten, the one and only Zeke. Return of the King! And tonight, well, firstly, I just want to say I've missed all you YouTube guys, and I hope the pandemic's treating you well. How's it going for you? It's fine for me. I managed to finish off this book, what I'm going to read for you tonight. So that was good. I've taken up oil painting as well. That's one of mine. It's all right. But yeah, welcome everyone. If you're watching live right now and you're in the chat, do say hello. Let me know how everything's going for you. And feel free during the course of this evening to interrupt me with silly questions about the book or about anything, really. So, yeah, a bit of a cock up. Not a great start. Hello, chow mein and tea. That's a dinner right there, isn't it? Chow mein and tea. Talented artist on many levels, I see. Yeah, man. You know it. I've got. I can't really pan the camera around, but I've got other. The whole place is just full of just my crappy attempts at painting. And Mrs. Iden actually works in here. This is the old office. And she's just like, I can't move. It's like working in an art gallery. But anyway, yeah. Hello, chow mein. So the book. This was part of the reason I disappeared from YouTube. I wanted to finish this off, and it's, it's only been gone 2 years to finish it. So, yeah, quite a few of you have downloaded the free sample. If you wish to do so yourself, I've pinned a link in the chat there. It's quite easy to remember. It's just novel.medium.com. Apparently no one had bagged the username novel on Medium, so I was like, yeah, I'll have that. Yoink. Yeah, I cocked up. I'm so sorry. When I originally scheduled this live stream, I set it for 9:30 in the morning GMT, and I had a few people email saying, oh, I'm going to try and be there, dude, but like I'm in America. That's 4:30 in the morning for me. I'm thinking, no, it's not. What are you talking about? And then my boss called me today and said, were you doing a live reading at like 9:30? And isn't that when you're supposed to be working? I was like, oh, God. I set it for 9:30 a.m., not p.m. So I think I've massively confused everyone. And if you got up early this morning to hear me say words with my mouth on a camera specifically, then I am so, so sorry. Anyway, let's dive into this book. I'm just going to read a bit of it. If a lot of people enjoy these little sessions, you like a little bit of Zeke words in your ear, then maybe I'll do it once a week. We'll subsequently read each part from cover to cover. It'll take forever. It's a big book. Look at that. It is really thick. But that's good, though, isn't it? Because you get more words for your money if you choose to buy it. I think they say that in publishing, don't they? They say, make sure the story that you're writing is as long as possible. Readers love that. So that's what, it's too long. It's too long. Anyway, if you want to see how long it is for yourself, novel.medium.com, or you can buy it on Amazon, wherever you are in the world. I've already shipped copies to the Netherlands, to Sweden, Canada. A lot of people buying it in Canada. I don't know why. America. And yeah, I'm really, really pleased with how well it's going so far. Chow mein is asking, I assume Amazon takes a substantial cut. Is it better to get the book on that link? You have no idea. So it's priced at, in pounds, £9.99 if you want the paperback, or £3.99 if you want the Kindle edition. If you buy the paperback, I get less than £1. It's less than 10%. So yes, Amazon does take a decent cut, and I'm not going to give up my day job anytime soon. However, and thanks for teeing me up for this one, Charmaine, if you buy the collector's edition, It gets shipped from the box that's down there. I've actually sold all of those. I need to get some more. But you get the physical version signed by me. You also get, let me show you, you get, along with your signed copy, and it's all wrapped in beautiful wrapping paper and string, and there's a 50% chance as well when you purchase the collector's edition, 50% chance I'll have glitter bombed it. So it's a coin toss. Anyway, you get the signed copy of the book. You get some beautiful, it's mirror image, but you get some lovely art boards. That's an alternative cover that I was playing with. I decided to turn into a little art board and a bookmark. And these will all be limited. They're limited edition. Once I've ran out of these, there are no more. And I only ordered 20,000 with the printer, so you best hurry up. You know what I mean? Gonna run out of these. Anyway, I've waffled for long enough. I think we should read the book. How does that sound? Go Die in a Fire by Zeke Idden. I think that's how it's pronounced. So there's a little map of where this is set. It's set in a dystopian version of Paris, which is the last city on Earth. Partly, it starts out in London, ends up there in Lutetia. And the contents page, you'll see it's got loads of kind of like glitchy, weird text on it. This comes up quite a bit in the book. Obviously, it's not going to work in an audio format. I'll just have to show you when it happens. But it happens for a reason that will become clear. And before the first chapter, a little verse. Oh, what little light we have, it only serves to show the snares and seeds of wrath that we have already sown on every path. Something's gone terribly wrong. All the world is mad. What vanity our sad, wretched fires. Sets the tone for you. Chapter 1. Build bridges, Izzy. Uncontacted peoples. The official term for the diminishing number of tribes who lived within the planet's deepest jungles, totally isolated from the wider world. The term itself came packaged with a hint of inevitability. They're not part of us now, damn it, but we'll get them sooner or later. Of all such designated tribes, the North Sentinelese had been the most successful at resisting contact. Others fell by the wayside, forcibly conquered, drawn beyond their self-imposed boundaries with the lure of trade or medicine, or introduced to alcohol, resulting in the blight of addiction which had entire tribes crawling back to their outside benefactors for more. But the Sentinelese held firm. Their ancestors had settled on the minuscule Indian Ocean island during the Iron Age, committed themselves to an arboreal quarantine, and had since remained entirely incurious of what happened beyond the shoreline. Then, one day, white faces appeared amongst the trees. The outside world had come to them, and it wore a mocking grin. Precisely how the tribespeople reacted to this sudden intrusion is a matter of pure conjecture. Instant hostility, probably, but their bows and arrows would have been totally ineffectual as the familiar jungle around them turned from lush green to death black. But however the people of North Sentinel Island responded, the end result was inevitable. Total, unmitigated slaughter. The more civilized metropolitan areas of the planet met exactly the same demise as the islanders, the only difference being that the lead up to it was better recorded. The cities that tried to fight back fell first. The cities that put their people into hiding fared slightly better. The cities that built walls survived the longest. The ancient Roman city of Lutetia, known as Paris for a brief period of history before reverting back to its original name following the Great Collapse, was one such city that wasted no time in fortifying a perimeter around its core. Unwavering from the task, even as the outer suburbs were razed, the death howls of the slaughtered met the shameful ears of those who worked furiously to seal off Lutetia's metropolitan heart. Cowards, the history books might have dubbed those who whimpered on the right side of the wall, praying to a multitude of gods that the monsters carving their way towards the city centre would be sufficiently slowed by the outlying arrondissements. A necessary sacrifice. Other books may have slanted those chaotic times, but, of course, no such texts would be written in the immediate aftermath. Our species was too preoccupied with the act of dying to document it. Hello, Mate. We've got Mate in the chat. How's it going, me old mucker? North America folded surprisingly fast. North America folded surprisingly fast. Africa didn't stand a chance. Asia was a slow burn, simply owing to the geographical expanse, and South America saw some benefit in its dense jungles. Ultimately, however, they too went the same way, as did Oceania, its islands, and the totally bewildered tribes therein. Only 4 cities remained as our candle of dominance over the rest of the world was unceremoniously snuffed out: Jerusalem, Carcassonne, Medina, and Lutetia. The Beacon Four, as they came to be known. Each of the 4 fortified their ancient walls to hold out, while the rest of the world burned in an inferno of panic, slaughter, and, often, literal fire. The 4 communicated with one another the best they could using radio waves, all other technology having failed them, before they each toppled in turn. When it was all done, only Lutetia remained. And in Lutetia, on the eve of its downfall, stood Joanne Archer. She watched as it too began to catch fire. The sight of acrid smoke billowing from the upper floors of the Palais de Justice filled her with shock and disappointment. Shock because it was unthinkable to see such a formidable piece of ornate architecture with a fatal wound. Disappointment because the black tide was already closing in on them and threatening to obliterate the walls from the outside. The last thing they needed was for the city to eat itself from the inside, too. She continued to stand, watching, weighing up her options. Everyone wanted Joanne to save them all. Joanne had just wanted to go home. She knew that if she walked into the burning building, she might be able to reconcile the two, but she also knew that if she pushed through the oak doors and committed herself to the quickly accumulating smoke, she would not leave the building again. Between the rioting masses at her back and the inferno ahead, Joanne felt as if the hands of fate themselves were shoving her, pushing her into a dead end from which there would be no way. And then the text on the page starts, you can't really see this, but it starts going backwards. Or because the camera's flipping it the right way up from your perspective. No, we must go back. It does not begin here. It begins with a prisoner and a traitor. Let's just wet me whistle. Thanks for tuning in, by the way, you guys. Really appreciate it. Lucinda, listen to the sound of my voice. She waited until the girl had brought her latest panic attack under control. They were coming more frequently of late, and really, who could blame her? Just listen. Breathe. You're okay. She ostensibly wasn't. Neither of them were anything close to okay. Hannelore Longueuil knew that the girl in the next cell was being treated to the same level of hospitality as herself. Chained rigid to a wooden chair, forced to piss and defecate where she sat, her mind beleaguered by sleep deprivation, her body racked by sores and torture wounds. Hannelore was in no illusion whatsoever that they would both die in these mouldy, padded cells. She was also grudgingly aware that it would not be a pretty end. But still, she found herself regularly cooing platitudes to her young, terrified neighbour through the grate between the cells. Hannelore hoped that, despite her own pain, her tone was calming. Moreover, she hoped her lies were at least somewhat believable. Lucinda, listen. We're getting out of here. I promise you. Can you hear me? I'm working on a way of getting us out. I just need some more time. Hannelore had no such plan, and perhaps the girl knew it, but it sounded like she'd gained control of her breathing and had also ceased sobbing. Their torturers had overlooked the vent adjoining the two cells and were unaware, or at the least uncaring, that they were able to communicate. The vent was now a conduit for calm silence until Hannelore filled it again with more distraction. Hey, Lucinda, she spoke softly. You said you had a cat. What was her name? She had to twist her neck against the chains in order to speak her words directly at the small grate at the side of her cell. The vent amplified some sounds, muted others. A few sniffs echoed across the space. Marla, came Lucinda's voice, bouncing across the duct, tinny and unsure. She was a Bengal. Hannelore thought for a moment and then called back, Bengals? Are those the ones with the stripes, the really pretty ones? Yeah, not just stripes though, rosettas and spots and, oh, such lovely fur, really talkative too. She'd just see you and start... Lucinda imitated the yowping of her cat. It was the same one that had, as Hannelore had learned through their previous talks, led to the girl being captured in the first place. Lucinda was hiding out in the London bunker right next to the ancient Victorian hospital in which the two now found themselves, but the cat's insatiable hunger wail had drawn too much attention. They didn't get her, you know, Lucinda said, a touch of wavering joyfulness to her voice. She's okay, you know. Marla got out across the roof when they came. I hope she's finding food okay. Oh, sweetheart. Hannelore turned her head towards the grey light pouring lifelessly through the barred window high in her own cell. She stared directly at the white disk of the smog-obscured sun, using the intensity of its brightness to stave off her tears. This poor girl. Yes, my darling, I think Marla will be okay too, Hannelore tried again, choking a little. She'll be out there now, hunting around in bins and chasing rats, and a sharp sound jolted her. A thin, metallic hiss. She couldn't make sense of it at first, the sound of the building's ancient radiator system coming to life. Cats are clever, Hannelore continued on. Cleverer than most humans, in fact. That sound again. It wasn't the heating system. It was Lucinda, hushing her. Shh! And then, in the smallest voice, came the words Hannelore least wanted to hear in that moment. They're outside! The sound of movement beyond their cells, followed by the metallic clunking of deadbolts and the rattle of heavy keys. Were they outside her door or Lucinda's? Hers. She couldn't see the ghouls as they entered. Her chair had been turned to face the opposite wall, her less than enamoring view consisting solely of the small barred window above and the damp, stinking cushions of the padded wall ahead. Numbing hours she had spent looking from one to the other, memorizing every patch and pattern in the black mould, and figuring out how to discern the time of day by the position of the sun between the iron bars. Mid-afternoon, she reckoned. Possibly 3 p.m., maybe closer to 4 p.m. Or if you're scheduling a live stream, 3 a.m. Either way, this was proving to be a regular slot for their afternoon sessions. They may be genocidal monsters, Hannelore thought, but at least they're punctual. The hinges of the leaden door behind her heralded their entry with a scream. 2 of them this time, she thought, sensing the colossal presence in the stale air. But was there something with them? They made little sound as they moved, save for the ruffling of robes and the clinking of blades. But with straining ears, Hannelore thought she could pick out the sound of human feet shuffling into the cell. A voice confirmed it. His voice. "Turn her around, please." Every muscle in her aching body tensed involuntarily, knowing exactly what was to come. Her torturers approached from behind and wrapped their long, bladed fingers around her. Some of the lethally sharp edges cut against the chains, some around the wood of the chair, and the rest slicing straight into her breasts and thighs. As they hoisted the chair upright, as if it weighed nothing, the blades cut even deeper, and Hannelore tried, in vain, to keep from crying out. Her already tattered clothing further sliced to ribbons, and fresh blood pouring over the stains of old, Hannelore was turned and placed against the back wall of the old asylum cell. From here, she could look at the things directly. She wished she didn't have to. Their height was truly staggering, even more so in the confines of the small cell. At least 9 feet tall and draped in a material so deeply black that it rendered their frames almost formless. The only distinguishing feature was their eyeless, porcelain faces. Both had a corpse-like pallor, but the shape and expressions of each mask differed. The one to Hannelore's left wore an eerily emotionless mask with no trace of feeling or empathy, while the one on the right wore a vaguely amused face, adorned with an expression somewhere between curiosity and playfulness. Hannelore could not decide which of the two was more unsettling. Hanging limp by their sides and already stained with Hannelore's own blood were 2 hand-like appendages made solely of long knives. In addition, 4 huge scythes, 2 on either side, protruded outward from behind them, like terrible wings. They were grotesque parodies of angels, and behind their eyeless faces and void-like robes lay only one thing, a pure, spiteful, and unceasing hatred of all that was good in existence. And the figure in the middle, a very human man standing between 2 inhuman ghouls. He looked minuscule between them, and his terrible posture made him look even smaller. The man wore a well-fitting, albeit dirty, black suit and a smiling mask of his own, though his was made, unlike the abyss that lay behind the eye holes of the sentinel's mask, behind his were the dull blue eyes of a human male. He went to speak, but only managed to choke out a few syllables before erupting into a spluttering cough. Hannelore could only imagine the phlegm that must be coating the inside of the mask, but if it bothered the man, he didn't let it show. "Right then," he said, upon regaining his composure. "Let's have a little chat, you stupid bitch." How are we doing? We're closing on 10 o'clock. I'll do it a little bit more. A little bit more. Chicken in white sauce. They hadn't even deigned to put a picture of the contents on the tin, and on opening it, Joanne could see why. Not even the most talented of food photographers could have made the gloop inside look anything close to tantalizing. Bleached, anemic protein swimming in a nondescript sauce. And this wasn't even the thing that bothered her. It was that she'd only just found it, having eaten the last of her porridge oats for dinner the night before, and was now left with this for breakfast. It should have been the other way around, but she supposed it was a trivial matter compared to the issue of what to eat for the rest of the week. Joanne poured the contents of the tin into the bowl. The sauce came first, and then, with some reluctance, the meat clumps followed in one homogeneous mass, splashing specks of the white sauce onto her blue hoodie. "Wonderful," she said out loud to the empty kitchen, and then shrugged. "Guess it adds to the effect." She was thinking of her meeting with the student loans department scheduled for that afternoon. She would have to plead poverty and really ham it up if she wanted a shot at what they called a hardship loan. And if that failed, it would be back to the flat to switch into a sharp suit, then off to the bank to discuss a regular loan. or yet another credit card. Being poor, it seemed to Joanne, was proving to be rather expensive. She pushed such thoughts out of her mind as she closed the microwave door. Instead, she reflected on how, all things considered, she was in an exceptionally positive mood. The day outside was turning gloriously sunny. She'd cleaned the flat from top to bottom, which admittedly hadn't taken long, and, most satisfying of all, she had broken the back of her dissertation. Birth of Patriotism: How the 100 Years' War Shaped the Distinct Cultural Identities of France and England. An expansive topic, but far from a dry one. She had vowed to avoid the common pitfalls that had frequently instead ensnared the French history students before her, namely taking a vibrant piece of history and squeezing all life from it using the miserable wringer of academia. Instead, she was attempting the opposite, to take a portion of history that languished in dull textbooks and bring it, kicking and screaming, into relatable modernity. She glanced over to the small table in the living room, rather the part of the flat which would be considered a living room if it was separated by walls. There, her laptop sat open. 22,000 words so far. The microwave pinged. Joanne removed the bowl and, after considering whether a spoon or a fork was more suitable, chose the latter and crossed over to the couch. She slumped down and turned the laptop towards her, spearing a piece of what the tin can assured her was chicken and putting it in her mouth. Actually, not that bad, she told herself, rather unconvincingly. Joanne idly scrolled through the sprawling manuscript as she continued to lap up the gloop, trying her best not to think about it too much. Just as she was beginning to formulate a plan on how to proceed next with her writing, her mobile phone jarred her from her thoughts. She saw the private number and answered it anyway. Yeah, hello. Am I going to do the accent? I'm going to do the accent. Ah, yes, good evening, Mum, came the heavily accented voice. Oh, I already regret doing this. I'm sorry to be calling you so late. It was 10 in the morning. She had another one. That's okay, she said, smiling. How can I help? A static delay on the other side, and then, No, Mum, it is how I can help you. Firstly, let me introduce myself. My name is Jacob, and I can see from our records that you are having an alarming number of viruses on your system, Mum. Oh no, this is terrible, Jacob, Joanne replied through a mouthful of chicken in white sauce. Whatever can I do? Mum, please do not panic. I am here to help. Do you have your desktop computer or laptop nearby? Definitely regret doing this. I do, yes, she replied, leaning over to it and booting a system into a partition drive on which a virtual desktop was installed. It took her forever to work out how to set it up in the first place, but now she could probably flip between the two in her sleep. Mom, what I'm going to do is log into your computer and help you solve these issues. I'm committed now. Yes, please, this is terrible, Joanne said flatly. Please save me, sir. Not a problem, Mom. Please revert to my instructions and we can help fix these issues. So firstly, Joanne let him carry on with his little script, giving little verbal Joanne let him carry on with his script, giving little verbal acknowledgements when required, but devoting most of her attention to getting through the bowl of white food. All the while she could see him poking around on the virtual desktop via remote connection. It didn't take him too long, she observed, before he opened up the folder titled Nudes. Like moths to a flame. Mom, I'm seeing a very infected computer, okay? But we can resolve. There is a file here that I'm looking at that looks super infected. Do you see it? Of course I can. I put it there, she thought, looking at his cursor hovering the only file in the folder, an executable file named private_pics.exe. Click it, you dumb, horny bastard. Oh, yes. Oh, God. I'm so embarrassed, she feigned. I don't want anybody to see that. Understandable, Mom. I can see that your personal files are all under risk from this virus. In fact, at any moment, Mom, a hacker could access all of your files. Do you understand, Mom? More than you know, she thought with a grin. The good news is today is that we can resolve these errors and fix your computer, he continued. But the software to fix it is priced at 170. Please, just fix it. I don't care about the cost. I want my laptop back. Her response stunned him. Coupled with the line delay, the static silence turned lengthy, and then he opened the file. Joanne sighed out loud in a long, satisfied exhale as the barely disguised Trojan forced a two-way port between the machines and began encrypting every single driver file on the other side. The silence on the line continued, but she could infer the note of bafflement that played underneath the static. Moreover, she had gotten good at pinpointing the exact moment their confusion turned to panic. What's wrong, Jacob? You've gone awfully quiet there, buddy. Apologies to keep you waiting, Mom. We're just having some technical difficulties with our system, but everything is okay. It wasn't, and Joanne knew exactly what the technical difficulties were. She could picture his screen in her mind's eye, replete with the error messages and encryption notices he was frantically clicking. Looks like you've got a virus, Jacob. You might want to speak to tech support about that. A hesitant pause, some yelling in the background, and then he stammered, How can you see my screen? I can't, but that file you just clicked sent a particularly nasty crypto worm your way. Not just your PC either. I'm guessing that shouting in your call center was from your scammer friends. Mom, let me just... Every machine on your network is in total lockdown. Can you see the big warning that's on your screen? Mom, I don't understand. But of course you don't. But Mom, I'm calling you today to help with... Jacob, buddy, you can drop the act now. You just got played. You're a very mistaken, Mom. If we can just... Look, there are 2 email addresses in that dialog box on your screen right now, she stated, placing a spoon in the now empty bowl and pushing it to one side. The first is the PayPal address of a homeless charity here in England. The second is my burner account. Donate to the first and send proof to the second. I'll let you decide how much to donate, and that'll help me decide how many of your files I want to release. Understood? The silence returned, simmering this time, because the predictable pattern held true. Confusion, then panic, then rage. You bitch, he fired back with such volume that it distorted the line. You think you're smarter, you slut? You're not, you stupid bitch. You stupid Balls in your court. Thanks, Jacob. She would have loved to antagonize him further, but time was running short. Joanne hung up and turned her attention back to her own laptop, where she severed the connection with the unfortunate scammer, who was no doubt still screaming obscenities in her direction from thousands of miles away. She switched back over to her main workspace. The dissertation was still open, welcoming her return with walls of texts that yearned for sculpting. Was it worth fleshing out the events running up to Henry's seizure of Paris, or gloss over it and head straight to the sexier business of French pirates casting terror into the hearts of English towns along the south coast? It was a matter she would have to give proper consideration at a later time. Right now, she had to make tracks in order to meet with her appointment with the student financier. She had no way of knowing that a mass murderer would prevent her from ever making it back. And I think we will leave it at that. If you would like to read more, and man alive, I forgot how good this book is. It gets really good. Should probably do the next bit. No, if you want to read more, head to novel.medium.com, and there's the free sampler. You can download it or just buy the whole bloody thing. Get it on Amazon. Get it via that link that I just mentioned, and you can get the collector's edition with all the lovely artwork. Ooh, you can even have ones that haven't just rubbed on my face, if you like. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Whether you're watching live right now, thanks to those that did join us, or whether you're watching after the fact. That was my slightly shoddy reading of a brilliant book. I hope you're all keeping very, very well. Thank you, Charmaine. That's kind of you to say. Yeah, just go check out the book, basically. It's all I'm going to be going on about until I die. So go die in a fire.